Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Today we're back in War Thunder looking at another devblog, and this time we're looking at the Ardennes. It's a new map that's going to be coming out in 1.67, and, well, I thought I'd try and do something a bit different. We're doing a bit of a monitor capture instead of gameplay, just because I can fiddle around with this thing and have a look. So hopefully this looks good. If it doesn't look good, I apologize. This is the new NVIDIA software stuff that War Thunder uses. They had a competition a while ago to see who could get the best screenshots and stuff like that. And it seems like they've used it quite a lot. If you actually not click that, but if you... it must be this one, no. Where is it? Is it here? Yeah, so if you click this, it will actually take you to the War Thunder one, and it'll show you all of the stuff that they've done in the past, and I'm sure they'll add a lot more to this as it goes. I think that's kind of interesting. But anyway, let's go full screen and let's have a look. So this is basically based on Bastogne. If you don't know what Bastogne is, basically it was the town which was kind of fought over, or at least became the center point of the fight of the Battle of the Bulge, the Ardennes Offensive in 1944. Hitler's last offensive, as it's known. The majority of the battle, if not all of the battle, didn't actually happen in Bastogne. Bastogne was basically the end of the line for most American and Allied troops in the area who were fighting around in, if you can see over here, all of the woodlands and, you know, basically on the horizons you can see forests and everything like that. That's basically where all of the battles took place. Bastogne was the fallback point, and it was the fallback point because they were surrounded. They were completely surrounded from basically all sides, running out of supplies, the, you know, weather coming in and everything like that, weren't able to get supplies in, so it was a very desperate situation for the Allied forces, but they were able to hold out. They were able to hold out for Patton and his army to come in, for Montgomery to come in and save them. But if you ever have watched a documentary on any of the guys who were in Bastogne or around Bastogne, mainly the American Airborne Forces, they will tell you they didn't need to be saved. Just basically because, well, they were the best of the best, and that's what they believed. So, we have a new map called the Ardennes, focusing around Bastogne. It would be very boring having a map which actually focused on the Battle of the Bulge, because it would just be a massive forest with a few fences, a lot of mortar holes, and that's about it. So focusing it around Bastogne I think is a good idea from the start. They're obviously going for having the church in the middle of the town as usual. If you look at many European towns, they are centered around a church, a chapel, or a steeple, or a cathedral, depending on how big the town is and if it's a city or not. So having that at the center is a nice little piece. It would be interesting if you can knock it down. One of the things which has been present in a lot of the newer War Thunder maps is that you can knock down most houses, but never the church. And I just wonder if that's a sign of respect or something, or mainly because it's next to the point. So we'll see if you can do that. But when we look at this map overall, it does remind me of Hurtgen Forest, and in a bit we'll go into why that worries me. But first of all, over here, there's a little comet. I've asked a bunch of people, me and Rex had a look at it, asked people on War Thunder Live, and we think it's a comet. So, just to point that out. It's either a comet, a Challenger, or something with that long chassis of the Cromwell. But when we look at this map, what do we see? We see a center point, so obviously one of the control zones is going to be here. Now, it's either going to be perpendicular that way, and down this road as well, to two other points, or it's going to be perpendicular this way to two other points. Now, I think it's going to be this way, personally, because you have this little town here, so that could work as a very nice little point, and you have a nice little gully here, whereas over here, all you have is a dip in the land, a little valley, which wouldn't be very good to try and hold down. Same with over here. The stuff that we can see, there's not really a lot here. There's a few collection of houses, a little bit of a dip, but that's it. So I think what's going to happen is these are going to be your spawns on either side of here. And then you're going to have roads in a diagonal fashion, as you can see already here, which are going to go to the outer points, and then you're going to have an inner point here. So it's basically whoever controls the city is going to win, because they talk about in the Devblog that, you know, there's a lot of rolling hills that TDs and light tanks can sit behind, and, you know, maybe they can do really well from that position, but generally we know in War Thunder that's not going to happen. The only place where that happens to any effect is high tiers, and it doesn't really happen with light tanks or TDs, it happens with leopards, and it happens with every other tier 5 main battle tank. So somebody did compare it to Hurtgen Forest. A few people did. Another thing, it would be nice to see a bit of snow around. They've obviously picked a date which it must be very close to the start of the Battle of the Bulge, because there's no snow, and obviously there was snow for the majority of the time there. It took place from December 16th, I believe, or 15th to January 25th, so it was about 2 months long, and in the period where the Ardennes are, there would have been snow. So they've obviously picked a date which is either before that or just at the start of the battle, so I don't know how much destruction would actually be here from artillery shelling and stuff. But anyway, let's have a look at the Hurtgen Forest map. So here we go. This is the Hurtgen Forest map. We'll get up the pen just so we can go through the issues that Hurtgen Forest have and the issues I don't want to see in the Ardennes map. So just remember that this is a very early version of the map, so this B point here is actually moved up to here. It's next to the windmill, and this A point has been moved to here. Right, so just keep that in mind. Unfortunately, I can't find a version of the map which is pushed up. So, what is the issue with the Hurtgen Forest map? The issue is, between the points, it is very hard to traverse. So we look at here. So this is an issue, and we go here as well. So these two areas on the Hurtgen Forest map are mainly heavy terrain or medium terrain, heavy mud or mud. There's no real roads apart from this one here, and there is a steep incline from this side down this road here. And there's also a steep incline up this road and up this road. Basically, this is in this area is in a valley, this area is on a hill, but this leads into a valley down here. And near the river is where the valley is. So traversing from the point up here that we see at up here all the way across to get to here in the center, and even from C to get to the center too, it's nearly impossible to do on the Hurtgen Forest map. You basically have to get very lucky, because if we look from here and we have a look at where the enemy spawn is, because it's back here in realistic. This is the arcade version. You have at least 2, maybe 3 or 4 tanks sat there. Same with this side. The spawn is back here. You will have at least 1 or 2 behind some of the rolling hills here, looking at this area here, right? So they are going to murder you. No questions asked. You will die. It's a bit safer over here because there are smaller rolling hills, and generally there is positions here where people can shoot from. Very low rolling hills, but it's impossible to really go hull down or anything like that, and generally going hull down doesn't really help in the game either. Over here there's a lot of forestry as well, so this side is a bit better for you, but the incline is still a killer, and generally there will be at least one person who decides they want to sit in these areas. There are a few rolling hills, such as here, here, and here, and they'll just sit on them and wait for you to push up to the center of the town. Now, this doesn't even take into account that, let's just get a different color here. There we go. this doesn't even take into account that along these roads here, there will be at least 1 or 2 people who are sat waiting for you. Especially if we go to here, where there are certain dotted houses from the right side of the map. Basically, this whole area here is a complete no-go zone. The only way to capture that point is from this position to go like this, and from this position to go across the river and to go like this. If you decide that you want to plow through, you have to either do it at the start of the match, so people aren't in positions over here, and you can't do it from this side, because it's too easy to see where you're coming from when you're climbing the hill. So, if you want to attack this point, you have to either go all the way around, or you have to go pushed up the hill. Now, why is this a bad thing? This is a bad thing because it means once you are here, once you are stuck at the windmill, what you cannot do is move to any of the other points. You are stuck there. Unless you're massively winning the battle, you are stuck at the windmill. Now that might be fine, right? But let's say your whole team decides to go there. Now you're all stuck there, and the other team captures the other points, and there's no way of really communicating where to do that. So maybe, 5 or 6 of your tanks go there, 5 go here, and then it turns out it's 10 have gone here, and, everybody in the center is dead because of it. But you're stuck here and you can't move, because the moment you move, people know where you are, and it also takes a hell of a lot of effort to get up into the town. Now, the good thing, looking at it, is, if we just get rid of this, is that it seems like, if I'm right about where the points are, which would be here and over here, there doesn't seem to be any big valleys or any rivers or anything like that, which is basically why on Hurtgen Forest you have these issues. You have this big river here, then you have this river here. They create valleys around them, which means that getting up the hills around them makes it hard. Makes it take so much time to get to the main town. So it looks like maybe they've thought about that, which is why we have much flatter ground. But if we look, if we still look on this map, unfortunately we have a moving thing, so it's quite hard for me to do. But let's just do right there. You see this huge patch. Oops. Fortunately it's moving without me. Oh dear, it's all going wrong. Let's just sort it out. Let's go auto follow off. So you need to go here. Yep, so auto follow is off, but it still moves by itself because you gotta love it. So let's turn that off too. Oops. And bin. So this area here, this whole area at the back where this grass is open ground, and you're gonna die. There's no questions asked. And you can even just move this around to the highlighted bit. Anywhere where you see these large areas of field, you're dead. It's as simple as that. These are no-go areas when it comes down to it, because there's going to be people sat in the town, there's going to be people sat in the points, and they're just going to kill you all. They're just going to shoot you, and you're going to have no cover. So already there's a lot of dead space on this map, which is kind of useless. But as long as the points are where they are, and there aren't too many drastic hills when it comes to trying to get between the points, it might be a pretty decent map. The only issue that I see that you can run into if you make such a flat map is areas of entry. So if this is one of the points and the other point is near the church, you basically only have one main road which you can go down. Obviously that's an issue. There's not a lot of cover around this area. There's not a lot of cover around this area. So, and obviously, once again, this is a no-go zone, and over there's a no-go zone too. So, that's going to be a bit of an issue. Is there still going to be enough cover between the points? Which is something that we've run into a lot between a lot of the other ground maps, including Hurtgen Forest. There just isn't enough ability to move between point to point, and that may be an issue that expands further beyond these maps. It may expand further because of how the game works. I can't really think of many maps where it's easy to go to each of the points from one another. Karelia is one of them, Kursk is another. It still takes time though, but once you're committed to a point, it takes a hell of a lot of fighting and a hell of a lot of time to get to another one, apart from, as I said, Karelia and Ash River and places like that. So we'll have to see. We'll have to see, first of all, where the points are. But if they are where I think they're going to be, then, you know, I have some promise for this map. I like the Battle of the Bulge. I like the Ardennes offensive. It's going to be interesting to see how they model in Bastogne. It all looks great right now. Hopefully they've thought about some of the issues that are caused by some of the other maps that they've created. I'm sure they have. I'm sure they do think a lot about that stuff. So, I hope you have a lovely day, and I'll see you next time.